The Beach Boys Basement presents the Steve Lewis Christmas Special. And now your host, Steve Lewis.
Hello everybody and welcome to my Christmas special. I'm so glad you could make it. We've got a lot of surprises for you today, so come on in and let's get started. What in the world is this? Looks like my first gift of the season. I wonder what's in here. Let's check it out. Can't wait to see what this is. Always like presents that come with these kind of dimensions. It's the Newberry Comics 2014 limited edition reissue of the Beach Boys Christmas album. Open this up. And it's on beautiful green vinyl. How about that? It's also got a little bit of extra vinyl in the spindle hole that I'll have to take care of. But there it is, the Beach Boys' much beloved 1964 Christmas album. Of course, the Beach Boys Christmas album was released in October 1964, right around the same time as the Beach Boys concert album, and the Christmas album has remained a perennial seasonal seller ever since. It features two different types of tracks, which roughly are split into side 1 and side 2. Side 1 are the teen tracks, which are more Beach Boys type music, though the last track on that side does feature arrangements by Dick Reynolds, who arranged music for the Four Freshmen. The second side of the album is primarily more Dick Reynolds arranged traditional Christmas songs, though the last track on that side is an a cappella performance of Auld Lang Syne by the group. Quite a bit of effort went into this compared to most Christmas albums. They wrote 4 new Christmas songs to go with their hit Little Saint Nick. The single version of Little Saint Nick had done very well the year before, released as a 45 with an a cappella version of The Lord's Prayer sung by the group on the B-side. What you get on the Beach Boys Christmas album, however, is not the hit single version from 1963. It's a more stripped down version. Now, there are a couple other examples in the early 60s of the Beach Boys releasing different versions of songs on album and on single. Be True to Your School and Help Me Rhonda. In those cases, the stripped down version came first, then they'd soup it up a little bit, sweeten it, and release it as a single. That made sense to me. I could never figure out why they released this stripped down version of Little Saint Nick when they had this really nice version with sleigh bells and glockenspiel. It turns out they thought the sound would be too different from the other Beach Boy originals on the album, which are sparse, stripped down. The recordings do seem to be hurried, even the composition seems hurried. Some of the songs actually seem barely finished. Bizarrely, in 1991 on the Beach Boys Christmas album CD issue, there's a bonus track, an alternate version of Little Saint Nick, sung to the backing track that would later become Drive-In on the All Summer Long album. This really seems strange to me. Now, apparently Drive-In and Little Saint Nick were both worked on around the same time, October 18th and 20th of 1963. But why they sang the lyrics of Little Saint Nick over the backing track of Drive-In is really beyond me. The lyrics don't fit very well. They can do it, but it doesn't sound right. And I don't think that's just because I'm used to hearing those lyrics sung over the Little Saint Nick backing track. It seems like maybe it was a goof, maybe it was just an experiment, I don't know. Though I have since noticed that the backing track for Drive-In features sleigh bells, so maybe it was a candidate to be the backing track for the Little Saint Nick single. The second track on Beach Boys' Christmas album became their 1964 Christmas single, The Man with All the Toys. Again, it's a less finished production than most of what the Beach Boys were producing by late 1964. The thing that really makes it for me is Brian's falsetto on the choruses, where there's a big man in a chair. That bit, it's one of his most beautiful falsettos. I love to hear that. To me, that's the attraction of The Man with All the Toys. The single didn't do as well as Little Saint Nick. It's largely forgotten as a single now, though it did reach number 6 on the Billboard seasonal chart that year. The prior year, Little Saint Nick had reached number 3 on the chart. Next up on the album is Santa's Beard, featuring a lead vocal by Mike, some nice backing vocals from the group, particularly Brian, and discusses the dilemma of explaining a not very convincing department store Santa Claus to a little kid brother. Next up is Merry Christmas Baby, which to my ears is the least developed original track on the album. It could have been a good song if they'd spent a little more time on it. The vocal performances are great, but they could have come up with something a little bit better for the chorus than just repeating the title Merry Christmas Baby over and over again. With a little more work, it really could have been something. It clocks in at 2 minutes 22 seconds, making it the longest track on side 1, and it seems longer than that actually. The next track on the album is Christmas Day, which, as the liner notes on the back of the album indicate, is Al Jardine's first lead vocal on a Beach Boy recording. Of course, he would go on to a much more prominent lead vocal role on Help Me Rhonda in 1965. After that, we get the first of the Dick Reynolds arranged tracks, Frosty the Snowman, which is a welcome change of pace coming at the end of side 1. The Dick Reynolds arrangements over the years have gone from beautiful to seeming dated and old-fashioned and almost unlistenable to then being something you could enjoy ironically, and then back to beautiful again. Some really nice work. As the arranger for Brian's beloved Four Freshmen, I'm sure Brian was really excited to get a chance to work with Dick Reynolds. And most of the Dick Reynolds, Brian seems to be the primary Beach Boy involved in the work. Kicking off side 2 of the album, we get the one devotional track, We Three Kings of Orient Are, with a beautiful arrangement by Dick Reynolds. It's 4 minutes and 3 seconds, which makes it the longest Beach Boy recording of the 1960s. Tears in the Morning from the Sunflower album was just about the same length. Cool, Cool Water from the same album was a little over 5 minutes. But this is the longest Beach Boy recording prior to the Sunflower album in 1970, and it feels it. I'm sure there was a feeling that some people would really want a devotional track from the Beach Boys on this album, and Dick Reynolds' arrangement is admittedly beautiful, but for my taste as a Beach Boy fan, it's a bit of a low point. Next up is Blue Christmas, which was written in 1948. 1949, there had been a country version that was a hit for Ernest Tubb. Hugo Winterhalter and Russ Morgan had each done hit pop vocal versions in 1949. Of course, the best known version was Elvis's 1957 version. I would have expected the Beach Boys version to have more in common with the Elvis recording, but it really harkens back more to those pop versions by Winterhalter and Morgan. It's Brian Wilson performing solo over the Dick Reynolds backing track. It's a beautiful track, very nice Brian solo performance. Following that, you get Santa Claus is Coming to Town, where Mike shares lead vocal duties with Brian. Dick Reynolds' backing track is jazzy and interpolates both Pop Goes the Weasel and the entrance of the Gladiators, which most people know as circus music. It's the kind of backing track that you would expect to hear on a typical 1960s variety show, and it's certainly my least favorite of the Dick Reynolds tracks on the album. That's followed by 2 of the Dick Reynolds highlights, White Christmas, which is a song that had already been overused by 1964 tremendously. But again, it's got a very nice vocal from Brian, very nice arrangement. It's again almost essentially a Brian Wilson solo performance. There are some oohs and ahs very subtly in the background, and I'm not even sure if those were provided by the Beach Boys. They're so low in the mix. White Christmas flows very nicely into the next track, I'll Be Home for Christmas, which features a nice vocal from the group and is one of the highlights of that side. The final track on the side, Auld Lang Syne, is an a cappella performance by the group with Dennis, who as a fan favorite is otherwise underrepresented on the album. This gives him a chance to make an appearance. In Dennis's rap, he says he hopes we'll treasure the album the way they do. Well, it's over a half a century later, and I still give this thing a spin every Christmas. It's a great Christmas album, a real perennial for me, and I think for a lot of people. Really can't go wrong for your seasonal listening with the Beach Boys Christmas album. Thanks for watching my Christmas special. I can see we're running long. There are some other segments that I had planned to show that I can see we're just not going to have time for, and I'm sorry about that. One of the things that you'll notice was missing from this Christmas episode was special guests. And I think in this year of 2020, there are a lot of us who are going to be missing special guests during the holidays. So however you celebrate the holidays, or whether you don't celebrate at all, I really urge you to pick up the phone, call some old friends. I'm sure there are people that would love to hear from you, people that you haven't talked to in a long time, people who are lonesome and would love a call from an old friend or a relative that they haven't heard from in a long time. And to that end, I'm going to get started right now. Hey Don, Steve, how are things in Florida? Yeah, I heard those outtakes. Yeah, I can't believe they haven't released that stuff.